How does that work?
I would not date someone who voted for Donald Trump.
Okay.
I don't feel like I should have to say this, but don't date Trump supporters, y'all. Like, seriously, it is that deep. If I see you dating a Trump supporter, my respect for you goes down.
He's a 10 out of 10, but he voted for Donald Trump.
Well, that instantly makes him not a 10.
What?
Yeah.
Would you give him a chance or would you disqualify him?
Instant disqualification. I think a lot of what Donald Trump pushes hurts people like me and people who are my friends. And I think if you're willing to look past that and vote for that anyways, vote for harm, it's like, oh, I don't want to. Like, I don't even want to in my life ever in any capacity.
Divorces are up, and they are up over politics. Here is just one example. I'm starting divorce procedures with my husband after I found out he voted for Donald Trump.
Let's talk about something people don't always say out loud. Dating, but not just dating. Dating in today's world, because now it's not just about attraction anymore. It's not just about personality. It's about belief, value, and sometimes politics. There are people right now saying who you support politically can decide whether someone even give you a chance. Before I break this down, I would like you to watch some of the clip people reacted on, because what you are about to say is exactly why this conversation is trending. Let's go watch this clip and we come back for our full analysis.
We all are ready to accept this, but not dating somebody just because they support Donald Trump is not a good reason not to date them. People hear that and they think, but Joe, I want to end up with someone who shares my values. But we all have to remember that values are not philosophical aphorisms that we espouse. Values are how we walk and breathe and navigate our lives. And if you're the type of person that's going to end something with somebody just because they support the candidate that the other half of the country is supporting, what you're essentially saying that your values are is that you are really ideologically rigid, you're incredibly self-righteous in your morals, and you cannot accept influence from somebody who's different from you. I think that people who are like that don't actually want a partner. What they want is a fantasy. What they want is someone who's going to validate every feeling and belief that they have. That's not what I want. I want something real.
So first of all, I hope this guy isn't a real therapist. And if he is, it's concerning because it seems like he uses therapy as a way to rage bait. Yes, your politics are 100% based on your morals and values. I'm not sure what else this person thinks they're based off of. I feel like he's just saying words in a certain way to make it sound like that's not the case. First, he says that morals and values aren't philosophical aphorisms. Which philosophical aphorisms are short sayings that concisely express a moral principle. So, I'm just not sure why he said that. He said morals and values are how we navigate life. Yes, we navigate life based off of our morals and values. We're going to act certain ways based off of our morals and values. I just don't understand why he was trying to muddy the water when it came to that kind of language he's using. Yes, we do base our politics off of our morals and values. I'm not sure how you could think otherwise. So it's perfectly normal to want to date someone who has the same morals and values as you. Imagine if you really value human rights, like the rights of gay and trans people or the reproductive rights. Your partner doesn't value human rights. That's a big deal. You're going to walk and navigate your life differently because of that. It's going to be pretty important to share morals and values with your partner. Look up areas of relationship compatibility. The first on the list is shared values. Having the same values, goals, and beliefs can create a strong foundation for the relationship, which I feel like is extremely obvious and most of us know that. That's why we want to date people with shared morals and values. We want a strong foundation, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It is not just about supporting a certain candidate like this guy's talking about. It's so much more than that, and pretending like it's not is dishonest in my opinion. Wanting a strong foundation with somebody is not self-righteous or ideologically rigid. It's just common sense. Kind of like why a lot of people within certain religions seek out to date other people within their religion. I would not call them closed-minded or rigid. I would understand why they would want to come from the same foundation. I would think most people would understand that. It doesn't mean that you need them to agree with every single thing you say. Again, it just means that you want to have a strong foundation. Saying that just because you want a strong foundation with your partner, you want to live in a fantasy is so bizarre. The Again, imagine saying that to somebody in a certain religion who is looking to date someone within that same religion. Telling them they are looking for a fantasy as if that's not everyday reality for so many people. I would argue that most people try to date within their moral belief system. This is nothing new for a reason. It makes sense that you would have less to argue about, less to fight about if you start at the same foundational level. And that doesn't make it any less real. Imagine you are somebody who wants your reproductive rights and your partner thinks that you don't deserve those rights. Imagine people you love and care about, you want them to have their rights, and your partner doesn't think they deserve those rights. It is absolutely 100% a moral and values thing. To pretend any different is blatantly dishonest. Again, I really hope this isn't a real therapist, but what can you do?
He's a 10 out of 10, but he voted for Donald Trump.
Well, that instantly makes him not a 10.
What?
Yeah.
Would you give him a chance or would you disqualify him?
Instant disqualification. I think a lot of what Donald Trump pushes hurts people like me and people who are my friends. And I think if you're willing to look past that and vote for that anyways, vote for harm, it's like, oh, I don't want to. I don't even want to in my life ever in any capacity.
Is it because of wanting to support people?
Yeah, sure, it could be that. It can be everything, anything, a lot of things, especially deportations. As a Mexican, that hits very close to home. And so knowing that, say if I was friends with someone, they tell me, oh no, I voted for Trump, that would hurt me, because it's how can you call yourself my friend and then do something that's actively hurting me, my family, and just similar people.
Yeah, but most of the illegals actually came from Central America as compared to Mexico the last 4 years. Would you still be okay with that?
Okay with what, deportation? No.
Yeah, the Hondurans and the Costa Ricans and Guatemalans.
No.
But they're not Mexican. Does it matter?
Yes, it matters. They're people. They don't have to be Mexicans for me to be the eye to eye. Yeah, I'm Mexican, but I can see for them too. I'm not so close-minded where it's oh no, only Mexicans should stay. I'm talking for everyone.
What if he only voted for him because he likes conservative values? He's not more so a MAGA man.
Okay, then wait for another election to vote a Republican in. I don't think you should have voted that one in.
Good thing most women don't want to date Trump voters. Men who love Donald Trump struggle on the dating market.
Oh, 100%. If we see a man who says he's conservative, it is an automatic swipe left. It does not matter what he looks like. And me personally at this point, if I see a man listed as moderate as well, it's usually a swipe left too. Because we all know what that usually means now. I think the fact that conservative men absolutely refuse to listen to women when we try to explain to them why we don't want to date conservative men, and then they choose to proceed to be conservative, and then immediately complain that they're confused as to why women don't want to date them, and they don't know why, is an ironic perfect embodiment of the lack of critical thinking and self-awareness. The ability to step outside of your own experience and listen to others, that the Conservative Party embodies as a whole, making a lot of women like me not want to date them. And a lot of this is trending in the news right now because the Conservative Party is about to launch their new dating app called The Right Stuff, in which I'm willing to bet every penny that I've ever made that the usership of this app is going to be about 90% men and 10% women with Lynn as the second part of their name. And I know the immediate complaint is always, y'all are so close-minded to anything, which embodies a lot of irony coming from the right alone. But that's not true. One of my best friends used to be moderate, and our friendship ended for different reasons, kind of. But a lot of his close friends were conservative men, so anytime I would go hang out with him and hang at the house, there were a lot of those guys around. And we'd all hang out and get along really well and talk about a lot of these topics very respectfully, and I really value all the conversations we had because they were great guys to have conversations with. To the point where I almost got drinks with one of them to hang out and catch up not too long ago. But when it comes to a partner or a life partner especially, those things become exponentially more important to have in alignment. At the end of the day, if you're someone who's voting against my rights and my family members' rights, that means that you don't think that we deserve to have the same rights as you. And I would never date someone who doesn't see me and my family members as equals. That's also why I never called those guys directly really my friends. But I constantly heard them making the same complaints because when we would hang out, right, we would pass our dating apps back and forth and compare with everybody. And they were always so confused because they were like, how do you get so many matches and we're lucky to get 5 in a week? And I was like, yeah, you're all really good looking. And I don't really see this from my other guy friends. They get a decent amount of matches here and there. But my other guy friends lean towards the left end of things. So I hate to say it, but your dating pool is going to be significantly more limited. And if Tammy, Lynn, and Ashley aren't your type, I don't know what to tell you. You're probably not going to get a ton of matches.
He's a 10 out of 10, but he voted for Donald Trump.
I'm not dating him.
Really?
Yes. He's not a 10 out of 10 then.
What if you found out later on, like most women do? Like they'll date a guy and then find out a year. Would you just break it
with him.
right away?
Yes.
It's that bad?
It is that bad.
How come?
Because then he voted against my rights. He voted against Roe v. Wade. He voted against just women in the workplace overall. He voted for someone who has been accused of sexually assaulting women. I can't date someone who supports that.
But what if he just supports the conservative values and he's not like a MAGA man?
You still have to look at the bigger picture. And when it comes down to it, Trump is not helping the bigger picture.
But so you think just that whole side is just evil people and then your side is the good people? Is that how you view it?
Definitely not. I think that a lot of politicians and most politicians are actually evil people, just in general. Some are just more out loud and some are a lot worse than others.
So you never give a conservative a chance?
It shows me where they align, normally.
Okay. Hopefully one day you'll change.
No, I think I'm good.
Some of you are ready to accept this, but not dating somebody just because they support Donald Trump is not a good reason not to date them.
This is such a dangerous, disingenuous, bad take that I want to respond to it, and I want to do so in a way that has nothing to do with Donald Trump. Forget politicians, right? If your partner supports or believes in something that makes you feel deeply uncomfortable, right, that really rocks you to your core, that's a valid reason to leave. And his justification for why you should stay with somebody that makes you feel this way, which I'll show you in just a second, is arguably the most toxic aspect of this point.
And if you're the type of person that's going to end something with somebody just because they support the candidate that the other half of the country is supporting, what you're essentially saying that your values are is that you are really ideologically rigid, you're incredibly self-righteous in your morals, and you cannot accept influence from somebody who is different from you.
Having rigidity about certain core principles does not make one ideologically rigid as a whole, and it's absolutely ridiculous to argue otherwise. Just to give an extreme example, I consider myself to be staunchly anti-racist, right? It is not a character flaw, nor does it make me ideologically rigid as a whole, because I would refuse to date someone who's a Klans member.
I think that people who are like that don't actually want a partner. What they want is a fantasy. What they want is someone who's going to validate every feeling and belief that they have.
And that's a huge leap to take based on what you said, because people are allowed to have deal breakers. My wife and I disagree about things all the time. I like chunky peanut butter. She doesn't. She likes pineapple on pizza, right? She's an extrovert. I'm an introvert. There's a give and take that can happen with these sorts of disagreements that we have. But some of our core beliefs, and this isn't a shocking statement, right, are reflected in the candidates that we choose to vote for. We both are happier dating someone who's pro-choice, right, who believes in science, who supports education, who supports marriage equality, who's anti-racist. And so if someone says something like they won't date someone who votes for candidate X, it has nothing to do with the politician, right? It has nothing to do with them wanting someone who agrees with them on everything. It has to do with them wanting someone who agrees with them on the most basic aspects of how they view the world. And that's not unreasonable.
So I don't know if anybody else is struggling with this, but on every date that I've been on recently, I find out that these guys are extreme conservative MAGA guys. And that might not be posted on their apps or their prompts, or you might not know that going in. And then I find out, and it's a big problem for me, because I've been having these guys tell me that they have a lack or inability to have empathy for masses that don't directly affect them. I had a guy tell me last night that he doesn't care about people personally that are not in his life, or that, and it doesn't affect him. Like, if it doesn't affect him, then he doesn't care about it. And that really bothered me, because I've had a lot of guys these days like tell me that they don't feel empathy for people of different socioeconomic statuses or going through different problems. And I think this was really heavily related to the ICE raids and lack of empathy for people losing their families and losing their lives over these things. So as a like progressive person, but also as a person who really tries to care about other people in her community, I find it a huge struggle these days to date amongst the rise of Trumpism and conservatism in young men.
The Democrats love to tell women like me that if we're voting for Donald Trump, we're voting against women's rights. But the only time I ever see misogynistic comments being made in 2024 is by the Democrats. Mark Cuban made comments saying that Donald Trump surrounds himself with weak and ineffective women. So if we're Trump supporters and we're female, we must be stupid and uneducated. Okay, Mark, tell us how you really feel. And then the Kamala Harris campaign team came out with an ad this week, essentially telling Republican women that we must be emotionally abused and controlled by our husbands if we're willing to vote for somebody as evil as Donald Trump. Whoa, sue me. So, pretty divisive rhetoric coming from the left. And then they go ahead and paint Donald Trump as this extremely misogynistic character. But he's the only candidate I've ever seen champion women's issues, like keeping our communities safe, closing our borders, keeping men out of our bathrooms, keeping men out of our locker rooms, and also keeping men out of women's sports. Ooh, Donald Trump, the extreme misogynist.
Accept this, but not dating somebody just because they support Donald Trump is not a good reason.
Absolutely blow me. Yes, not dating somebody because they support Donald Trump is absolutely a valid reason not to date them. I can't count the amount of men I've been like, oh, absolutely not, when I see like a Trump flag or a Trump shirt or a Trump hat like in their bio. Yes, it is absolutely valid to not date a man who I know for a fact supports another man who wants to take away my bodily autonomy, who has assaulted women, who hates minorities. Those are all pretty big red flags for me. This reminds me of that article that was circulating, I don't know, several months ago now, where it was basically like, conservative men find it hard to date. But like the only people who were shocked by that were the conservative men they interviewed for the article. Because obviously nobody wants to date you when we know that you don't see us as equals. When we know you see women as less than and you see your partners as less than. Like obviously no one would want to date you. And then there are the men who are like, I don't talk about my politics on dates. It's just not important. That's because it doesn't have to be important to you. It's pretty important for a lot of us. There's a reason that when people refuse to talk about their political affiliation, you pretty much know they're like a Trumpster or a conservative.
Yeah, not doing great. Don't even want to give anyone the satisfaction. But I do want to say this. If you are queer in any way and you voted for Trump, do not come to Pride. Do not come. It's a revolution. It was started by a black trans woman. You do not get to enjoy the party while actively voting against your community's safety. Like, don't come. Don't. Also, if you are a white woman that is getting offended by black women or people of color not feeling safe around you, like, they shouldn't. White women, once again, have failed us. They are willing to risk everyone and hurt everyone, including themselves, to be a pick-me for a mediocre man. Like, I hope your pillow's hot. I hope you ran out of gas. Truly.
Divorces are up, and they are up over politics. Here is just one example. I'm starting divorce procedures with my husband after I found out he voted for Donald Trump. It's not the only reason. We've already had problems like him forcing me to go to church or having me quit my job and become a housewife because he got promoted for a good job. I couldn't find a job where we moved, so I settled in doing housework. I cook, I clean, I'm good at it, but the Trump vote was the last straw, and his lack of remorse. We had a conversation. I told him how hurt I was, how he knew how much I hated Trump, the trauma that man has put me through, but he did not care. I should be grateful because of the job benefits he'll have for his line of work. I'm not going to do this anymore. We have no prenup. I'm going to fight for my rights. We've been married 8 years. I've sacrificed so much. Not anymore. I'm going to take everything I'm owed. The political divide is as big as I've ever seen it, and I've been a divorce lawyer for 20 years, so people have been coming in and talking about their political differences as one of the conflicts that exists in their house for a long time, but it is now at an all-time high. The ideological divide in this country has just gotten wider and wider and wider, and many of us were hopeful that after the election, there would be some relief, but it seems to have only exacerbated the divide. Have you all seen this in your friend group? Are you watching this happen near you as well?
How does that work? I would not date someone who voted for Donald Trump.
Okay. Okay. I think we're okay. Okay. I guess they didn't either. Okay. So we're looking okay. Okay. That's always an essential question because that can end a relationship or start a relationship. Let's go for another one. In terms of love languages, I'm going to ask you first and I'm going to ask them, what would you say your love language is?
My love language, flowers, chocolates, promises I don't intend to keep. And if you know where that quote is from, you're already ahead of the game with me.
Do we know where that quote's from, ladies? Okay.
So you know how there are those people who are breaking up with their boyfriends because their boyfriends voted for Trump and everybody's like, oh, well, it's just politics. People can have differing opinions. No. Yes, people can have different opinions, but not when it comes to human rights. Like different opinions when it comes to like pizza toppings or like what's your favorite ice cream flavor or like what's your favorite color. Like different opinions, yeah, that's completely valid. Like you can't be racist or sexist or homophobic and just be like, oh, well, it's just my opinion. Like, no, it's not an opinion. You're just being a bigot. I just don't understand why this is so hard to conceptualize. Like, why can't people just not be racist? Like, why can't people just not be homophobic? Like, why can't people just not be sexist? Like, it's really not that hard. So the people who are breaking up with their partners because their partners voted for Trump, I think it's valid because it's not just about different opinions. It's not just about politics anymore. It's about a lot more.
I don't feel like I should have to say this, but don't date Trump supporters, y'all. Like, seriously, it is that deep. If I see you dating a Trump supporter, my respect for you goes down. A lot. Like, it should ruin friendships. It should ruin relationships. That's not to say Trump supporters are evil, but it's to say that you should respect yourself enough to surround yourself. And if you're going to spend a lot of time with someone like you would a partner, spend your time with people that have done the growth to recognize the harm that Trump is. A lot of Trump supporters believe that because Trump has weaponized their insecurities or their fears or their hopes or worries against them. And that makes sense. And that doesn't make every Trump supporter evil. I don't think they are, and I don't think that's a helpful narrative. But on an interpersonal level, if I'm friends with you, I'm friends with you because I believe you have a certain amount of maturity and ability, and you should be able to develop beyond seeing how a charlatan can weaponize your fears, hopes, and dreams.
Alright, you have seen those clips. Now, let's be real. Dating has changed a lot. People are no longer just asking, do I like this person? They are asking, do our values align? Do we see the world the same way? And when those answers doesn't match, it becomes a deal breaker for some. Let's simplify this in this way. This isn't just about Donald Trump. It's about identity, value, lifestyle choices, long-term compatibility. Because relationships are not short-term decisions. People think about the future. Now, here is the truth. Everyone has a preference. Some people care about religion, culture, and lifestyle. And now, politics has joined that list. So when someone says, this is a deal breaker for me, that's not always it. That's personal choice. Now, let's talk perspective. For many Black communities and Black women, dating has always included deeper conversation like safety, understanding, shared life experience, awareness of social reality. So when conversation about value comes up, it's not new. It just becomes more visible now, because choosing a partner isn't just about love, it's about alignment, it's about being understood, and that perspective has been part of the conversation for a long time. This topic is trending because it mixes relationship, identity, and politics, and that combination always sparks strong reaction because it touches personal life directly. Let's zoom out for a second. What we are really seeing is this. People are becoming more intentional in dating. They are asking, can we agree on important things? Will this work long term? Because attraction alone is no longer enough for many people. Think about it in this way. Have you ever met someone you like, but sometimes didn't align, and you had to decide, do I ignore it or do I walk away? That's the real situation people are dealing with right now. At the end of the day, this isn't just about politics, it's about compatibility, value, and personal boundaries. Because everyone has the right to choose, what works for them. Now, I want to hear from you. Should politics matters in dating, or should it be separated from relationship? Drop your thoughts in the comment below and let's have a real discussion about it. And if you want more real conversation like this, hit that subscribe button because we go deeper on viral topic like this on this channel every time. Thank you for watching. I will see you all in my next